Welcome to the Lancaster Outlook. I'm Wendy Williams. The need for a federal bailout of our nation's banking institutions has most in the country very concerned. But how are we doing right here at home in the city of Lancaster? To answer that question is Barbara Boswell, the city's finance director. And it is the $100 question. How is the city faring?
Well, the city of Lancaster is certainly feeling its share of pain due to the economic downturn. Our revenues are down. We really have been impacted by the slowdown in people spending. People aren't buying cars like they were a couple of years ago. They're not going out and making impulse buys. That's impacted us, as well as the slowdown in the development activity.
You know, when you say people aren't buying cars, how does that translate to the city? You're not car dealers, but you do have an impact. How is that?
Absolutely, because every time a person makes a purchase, buys a new vehicle, there's sales tax there. We get a portion of that sales tax. So every time you buy a car, 1% of that sale comes back to Lancaster to help us pay for the services that we provide to the citizens.
1% of a $40,000 car, that could be huge.
Yep, adds up.
You know, I just have to ask this question. I'm so surprised that when the economy did turn sour, there were cities throughout the nation just laying off people right and left, and yet there sat the city of Lancaster, not one person. How was that possible?
Well, this is our good news story, is that we are now reaping the benefits of our long-range financial planning. When revenues were up, when activity levels were up, we didn't staff up to the peak levels. We knew at some point that was going to start coming down. So we staffed to a level that we felt we could maintain in good times and bad, and we augmented with contracts. So what that means is, as activity levels change, you can either increase the contract or decrease the contract, but still continue to maintain a level of staffing. We also set aside some money. We call it our financial stability reserve.
Oh, a rainy day fund.
A rainy day fund.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. We do have our rainy day fund. And we knew that we wanted to be able to commit to the citizens that we could provide a level of service that we can maintain through good times and bad, and so we set the money aside.
It feels like these bad times might last longer than most people expect, that these seem a little rougher than we've seen in the past. Is our rainy day fund substantial enough to last for a long time?
Well, fortunately, when we were putting together our budget for this year, we didn't have to dip into that rainy day fund. And our goal is to be able to continue through the downturn without having to dip into it. We feel it's sufficient. We feel like we can make adjustments and react to the economy without having to use it, but it's there if we need it.
As an expert in finance, what would you say the outlook is for our city in the next 3-4 years?
I think the outlook is it's going to be tough, it's going to be hard, but we will be able to weather the storm based on the policies that were established by our council and the conservative financial
position. It
positions,
really is
yeah.
the position
Policies.
that they've taken.
The conservative financial policies that have been adopted and that have been in place for some time.
The city has been vigilant at increasing the public safety contract for our sheriff's department because obviously fighting crime is a priority. And there's always the fear that if the budget goes down and our revenues go down, that we won't have as much money for our law enforcement. What's happening in that arena?
Public safety has been and continues to be our #1 priority. It is the only area of expenditure where when we do our long-term financing, we anticipate growth. We anticipate growth, not just higher cost, but increasing boots on the street. We're committed to keeping that and maintaining that growth, and we will be doing everything that we can to continue that, because that is our #1 priority.
What about business? You said there's a slowdown. We know there's a glutton of houses on the market, so there isn't a lot of housing construction. But what about business in general in our city?
Well, the city is continuing to do construction. We have parks that are going out for bid. We're still maintaining our streets. We have opportunities for businesses to participate in that. We have information on the city's website that contractors can go to look at what bids are coming open, what can they possibly participate in terms of being a contractor. The best thing to do is, #1, make sure you have a business license, because all businesses doing business in Lancaster needs to have a business license. You can contact the city's finance department and talk to purchasing so you can be registered as a vendor. Then we can notify you when we're looking for quotes for purchases that we do or services that we need. And there's also information on the website where you can register to be notified automatically when we have bids that are coming open.
So just because there's a slowdown doesn't mean the city's stopping all of its contract work.
Absolutely not. In fact, it's in some ways beneficial for us to be out there right now generating activity. You know, that's our part to keep our economy going. We still have to do the things we've always done.
With the housing market having pretty much come to a complete stop, how does that affect our revenues?
It affects our revenues in a couple of ways. The slowdown in the development means that we have less contractors coming into the office requesting services, so we've adjusted, going back to the idea of hiring contractors. We don't need as many inspectors, we don't need as many plan check people, so we've reduced there. But we also don't have as many people moving into the city, and less people means fewer dollars coming in terms of sales, so that reduces our sales tax. It also has impacted us in terms of the assessed valuations. People's homes aren't worth as much as they were. That translates to property tax dollars to the city. So that's another area we're seeing.
So are we just, how are you, I mean, you can't just keep moving along at full speed ahead, obviously. You've had to scale back. You scale back where you need to with inspectors and such like that because the housing market is non-existent. But what about in the other areas, in our festivals and our parks? Are we going to be okay there? Will we still see those services that the city is known to provide? The Poppy Festival, for instance.
And this goes back to our original intent of establishing a financial stability reserve. We've made a commitment that this is a level of service that our citizens have come to expect and that we want to offer. Maintaining our parks at an acceptable level, offering bark at the park, having the Poppy Festival. Those are all
one
things.
of my favorite, by the way, bark at the park.
Those are all activities that our citizens enjoy and that we're committed to maintaining.
That's excellent news, really, really excellent news. What about a number, if somebody did want to do some business, like you said, be a vendor with the city, who do they need to contact?
Call our finance department. The number is 723-6033 and ask for purchasing, and they can receive information there. It's also available on the city's website.
And the website is?
www.cityoflancasterca.org.
Yeah, got to remember the CA.
I don't have the CA.
Barbara, very, very nice to talk with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing a wonderful job keeping the city's finances in line as we keep our eye on the federal level. They're not doing so well, but we're doing good and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, it's certainly a group effort with the council and the city manager and staff.
Like you said, conservative policy.
Conservative policy. Absolutely.
Well, you have been listening to Barbara Boswell, the city's finance director, and this is the Lancaster Outlook.